Today on the channel, a wise man once said, to be the man, you've got to beat the man. And I'm having a hard time keeping these alligators down, as today on the channel, we count down the top 10 Ric Flair figures of all time.
The spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another Kyle Peterson Top 10 video. And today, in honor of 18,000 subscribers to the very YouTube channel you are watching, today we are counting down one of my all-time favorites. We're counting down my top 10 favorite Nature Boy Ric Flair figures of all time. And the Nature Boy, what more can be said about him? And this is perfect timing as of this coming weekend. Yes, this weekend, he is wrestling his last match ever. He is tag teaming, partnering up with Andrade versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. It is on Fight. Cheap plug for them. I will be watching because guess what? I love Ric Flair. And a lot of people, I would say the majority of people, saying Ric shouldn't be wrestling. To me, I'm okay with it. Let anybody do whatever they want to do as long as they're not hurting somebody else. That's what I always think. Who cares if Ric wants to wrestle? If you don't like it, guess what? Vote with your wallet. Don't watch it. That's what I would recommend. But interesting, of course, Ric Flair wrestling the last time. We'll see how that ends up happening for him and how that ends up going. But there is no denying the legacy, the greatness of Ric Flair in that wrestling ring. So many great figures, such a long career, and of course, me being a kid of the 80s, of course I love the Nature Boy Ric Flair. I was all in on the NWA days, of course him going into WWE, back to WCW, all over the place. I've loved Ric Flair since I can remember wrestling, and first time seeing him, I said, this is a guy I like, and with that, of course, comes the action figure side, and we'll talk a lot about my history with some of these figures along the way. And of course, we're going to do this top 10 like we do all the other top 10s on the channel. We're going to start at number 10, work our all the way to number 1. And of course, number 1 being the best Ric Flair figure of all time as voted by me. Remember, this is my list, and I'm asking you guys, put your list in the comments down below. Everybody's got their own list for sure. And there's a lot of Ric Flair figures to pick from a lot of different years and a lot of different toy lines. And these are going to be my top 10 favorites. So without further ado, let's kick it off at number 10. All right, we kick off the top 10 Ric Flairs of all time as voted by me at number 10, of course. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. I should have said that in the opening part. Of course, every 1,000 subscribers to the YouTube channel, we do another top 10 list. And we'll have to see for the 19,000 subscribers, who do we take a look at? And then, of course, 20,000, that's going to be quite the milestone. We'll do a bunch of giveaways. We'll do all kinds of stuff when we hit 20,000. So stay tuned for that and subscribe if you must. Sure. All right, number 10 starts off, and we go to the Mattel. Of course, Mattel Elites, Ultimate Edition, Retros, a lot of different toy lines from Mattel. But we're going to the Mattel Elite. We're going to the GameStop exclusive from 2019, the RetroFest Ric Flair is the number 10 figure. And of course, I got one mint, got one loose. Of course, these were GameStop exclusives. We're at the very end. I guess Target did have a little bit of Iron Sheik Mr. Perfect when GameStop dropped the line. Not the most successful line with GameStop, unfortunately, as a lot of these went to deep clearance. But talk about a fabulous Ric Flair figure. This has just got that early 90s great vibe to it with, of course, retro-style packaging like a video game. Perfect for GameStop, if you ask me. But then you get Ric Flair in a red iconic robe, and we're going to talk about a lot about Ric Flair and his iconic robes and some of my favorites in these figures because we've been very fortunate that a lot of Ric Flair figures over the years have come with his iconic robes. But this one is great. Obviously, the figure, it's elite quality, great quality figure, great soft goods here. Packaging is what brings this one to the next level and really makes it stand out. And very cool collection inside of a collection to have a mint on card set of these RetroFests, as you guys know I do. But a fabulous head sculpt, a fabulous robe, just an all-around fabulous figure. And that's why this Ric Flair comes in at number 10 on my top 10 list. All right, we go off to number 9, and number 9 is quite the deep cut, and it actually, once again, does come from Mattel. It's a Mattel Walmart exclusive from many years ago, and it is a basic figure. It is the basic Ric Flair suited body from the Mattel Flashback wave, of course, it was the build, a J.J. Dillon Build-A-Figure, of course, the manager, leader of the Horsemen in a lot of ways. A fabulous, fabulous Ric Flair, and a very hard figure to track down after all these years. There's been a lot of custom Ric Flairs and suits using the Ultimate Warrior, of course, Hall of Fame body. People have done that. I've done that myself. That is good looking, but we're not counting customs on this countdown. But a Ric Flair in a suit, obviously we always think of Ric Flair in his robes, but he's in a suit more times than not, especially in the old school at WCW, NWA interview segments and stuff, and that's just an iconic part of Ric Flair. Of course, so many great promos in this kind of gear. So just absolutely fabulous figure, and I couldn't leave off at least one suited Ric Flair in this countdown here. It's just such an iconic part of him, and I've always liked this one the best as far as his suited figures from Mattel for sure. We did get some from Jakks, as we know as well, but just iconic Ric Flair. You see this all day long, you know it's Ric Flair. Would have loved a title belt with this one, but it didn't necessarily need it. Would have been a nice throw-in. Beautiful glasses with this one, and like I said, this was a Walmart exclusive. A little harder to track down, part of that J.J. Dillon WCW kind of throwback flashback wave around the same time as Harley Hysteria and those elite flashback waves at the time. They did do some basic flashbacks, which I thought was pretty cool, and I did pick up all of those as well. So coming in at number 9, the Walmart exclusive, Nature Boy Ric Flair in a suit. All right, we're feeling great at number 8, and for our number 8 Ric Flair, we go all the way back to 2008 to the greatest action figure wrestling figure line of all time. Debatable, of course, but 2008, of course, we're going to Jakks Classic Superstars. We're going to Ric Flair. We're going to Ric Flair in the green robe, an iconic one, not as iconic as red, black, of course. Maybe some even say the blue one from his first title win, his retirement. But there's something about this green robe, and of course you know Kyle, he's got a loose version of this as well. Something about this green robe that is very iconic. Maybe it's the Oakland A's fan inside of me, I don't know. But I always love this one, and this one really does pop off the shelf, pop off the wall of Classic Superstars with the lineup of all the Ric Flair in his very colorful robes, but just fabulous figure. Of course, the head sculpt used many a times throughout Jakks. Got to get the most out of your molds after all. But the jacket, definitely something special. Just a beautiful, beautiful robe. I can't beat this one. I just love the green color. The silver against it really pops. And then, of course, it being in the Jakks Classic Superstars line, you know I'm all in from the get-go on this one. So Ric Flair, a tough one to top, but it's been topped with 7 other ones. But from 2008, Jakks Classic Superstars Series 20, Ric Flair. All right, we're at the number 7 spot in our Ric Flair countdown, and number 7, once again, we journey back to Mattel. Of course, Mattel, current holder of the WWE license as I'm filming this and for years to come from this. But we're going all the way back to 2014 to the Defining Moments line. Of course, the Defining Moments line. Before there was Ultimates, there was Defining Moments. That was kind of the Rolls Royce, I guess you'd say, of the Mattel line. And we're going all the way back to black-robed Ric Flair. Of course, a absolute beauty. Beautiful packaging, beautiful figure, an iconic robe, once again, the black robe with Ric Flair. Beautiful head sculpt, beautiful elite style figure. Of course, the extra fur details here really bringing this to the next level. That's why I went to the Defining Moments line instead of an elite line, just with all the beautifulness of this robe. Of course, the Defining Moments packaging, absolutely fabulous. Get the whole set, put them all together. That's what I did. It looks very good with the big window box. Really love the back window box as well. The back is really awesome. That is a nice touch. We used to even get that with Elites back in the day, so you could see the whole figure, even if you're a min-on-card guy. Beautiful write-up on the back of this one. Just an absolute classic Ric Flair figure. One of the best Ric Flair figures of all time, of course. So that's why it's on this list, and it's coming in at number 7. All right, we continue on. We're at number 6 in our Ric Flair countdown here, and number 6 comes once again from my favorite line of all time, the old Jakks Classic Superstars line. Of course, you know my love for this. Of course, every single Tuesday on the channel, we do a deep dive into Jakks Classic Superstars. For over 2 years, we've been doing videos every single Tuesday. Haven't missed a Tuesday, so make sure you're checking those videos out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we got probably another 2 years, maybe more, of content on Jakks Classic. And this is one of those figures I actually will be unboxing. I just have not got around to it. I'm not wanting to pull the trigger yet. I might try to find a loose one because I hate some of these classic ones letting them breathe if I could find a loose one. And I don't like taking them out of circulation. But which one are we talking about here at number 6? Well, we're talking about the WWE 24/7 exclusive Classic Superstar Ric Flair in the pink robe. Now, I did a overview of this figure, ago, a year ago, whatever it is. You can search my name, search this figure. You'll find the video on it. I talked about my hard times and disappointment trying to track this figure down back in the day. Very, very frustrating experience. Now I got 2 of them in my collection. It's funny how things come full circle. But part of the greatness of this one was how hard it was for me to get. The chase on this one was a lot of the fun. But obviously it's Ric Flair. I love Ric Flair. I love classic superstars. I love this pink robe, the title belt. I love WWE 24/7 back in the day. I'm old enough to say I was a day one 24/7 guy way back when. It was just a whole new world opened up to us all. But a lot of special stuff around this one. And this one came out about the same time as Jakks Class Superstar Series 20, the green robe Ric Flair, as this came out around the time of Series 21. It was one of those kind of surprise things that just kind of came up. Obviously, it was a pretty easy repaint with a new robe going on. But man, this is a fabulous, fabulous figure. One that doesn't get talked about near enough, and that's what I try to do with some of these classic superstars videos on the channel every Tuesday, is there's a lot of history to these, and I don't want it to be forgotten. I mean, if I don't tell the story, who is? Nobody else is doing it. So I'm doing it, and I'm doing my part to keep history alive. But number 6 for me, 24/7 Jakks Class Superstars exclusive Ric Flair. All right, here we are. We're at the halfway point in our Ric Flair Top 10 countdown. We are at the number 5 spot. Make sure you put your list in the comments down below and make sure you put them in order. That is the fun part. There's a lot of stuff you can look at for Ric Flair figures. I always recommend Wrestling Figure Database. You go there, search Ric Flair. Pulls up every figure he's ever had. Makes it real easy for you. So you can easily put them in there. Cheap plug for those guys. They're doing good work over there at the Wrestling Figure Database. So check them out. But number 5 for me is one of those ones where when this came out, when this was announced, this was released, and still to this day, I said, oh, where was this in my playing days? Where was this when I was a little kid? Because, man, this would have been a game changer. And every once in a while, maybe you get this. If you're a longtime collector and you played with toys as a kid, you've seen stuff come out in recent years and say, oh, what? This would have actually changed my childhood if I would have received this figure as a kid. What are we talking about here? We're going once again to WWE. We're going to Mattel. We're going to the retro Ric Flair at number 5. Not a ton of bells and whistles, no robe, no title belt. Of course, we got a loose one here. But this is the Ric Flair Kyle wanted when he was collecting Hasbros as a little kid. I've told it on the story. I've talked about my most disappointing. I think we did my top 5 most disappointing figures of all time or something like that on the channel one time. And you guys know Ric Flair's Hasbro was on that list. I was so gut-punched, disappointed as a kid. As I still played with that Ric Flair, but that's not the Ric Flair I wanted as a kid. It just didn't look like Ric Flair. It didn't feel like Ric Flair. It didn't play like Ric Flair like I wanted him to. It was just such a heartbreak and disappointment moment of my childhood. And as a kid, you can look past a lot of junk. You can. You're a kid. Use your imagination. But I extremely struggled as a kid dealing with that Hasbro Ric Flair. And if I would have got this one, oh man, it would have made my Hasbro playing days were fun. Of course, they were some of the best times of my life, some might say. But if I would have had this Ric Flair, if this was the style they would have gave me back then, oh boy, Flair would have been a multi-time champion. Probably would have never lost the belt. It's such a great figure, this Ric Flair. The head sculpt, the body action, the pose on this one instead of that Rick Rude body, the beautiful blue colors here. This is everything I wanted in a Ric Flair retro. And I truly feel to this day, this retro is very underrated. This is an amazing retro figure. Absolutely love this one. Represents the era of the Hasbros that I wanted, kind of his late NWA, early WCW time frame that would have worked just fine with WWE. Just can't gleam about this one enough, as this truly would have been a game changer in my childhood. And because of all those reasons, he comes in at number 5 on my top 10 Ric Flair list. All right, we're at the number 4 spot in the list here on our Ric Flair countdown. And number 4, we go to Jakks Deluxe Aggression Style. Of course, Deluxe Classic, but we don't get a lot of Deluxe Aggression Style figures in these top 5, top 10 lists. But we have one here from 2008. Very kind of tongue-in-cheek on this one a little bit, I would say, as it is a Ric Flair retirement figure from 2008. Of course, this was a Ringside Collectibles exclusive or Ringside Fest exclusive back in 2008. Representing his retirement match. Well, here we are many, many years later, and Rick's actually having another retirement match. It's funny how that works. I just wish it was against Terry Funk. Couldn't make that possible, unfortunately. But a fabulous figure. You guys know the Deluxe Classic. Fabulous packaging, beautiful figures. They did a really good job with that line, and once again, we did walk through all those on the channel. Make sure you check out those videos. But Flair with the iconic robe from his retirement, beautiful head sculpt, beautiful figure. Of course, even the Hall of Fame plaque right here, special Ringside Fest sticker on it. Just an all-around fabulous figure, and run we truly thought was his retirement. As we know, he did come back. He toured Australia with Hulk Hogan, I think it was. Of course, his time in TNA, came back to WWE for a while. Now he's wrestling again in his last match, like we said. So Flair's been around still. He hasn't totally disappeared. But boy, when this came out, this was something special. This is something I knew I had to have immediately. And after all these years, very iconic packaging. This one definitely stands out on the Deluxe Classic wall for me. For all those reasons, he comes in at number 4 in the top 10 countdown. All right, we've come to the final 3 in our Ric Flair top 10. Make sure you put your list in the comments down below, and don't forget to like this video. You made it this far, you might as well get that done already. I'll wait. There you go. But we're at the number 3 spot. And number 3, we go back to WWE. We go to Jakks, but we go to their Ringside Collectibles exclusive Ric Flair. One that's been a little bit forgotten about in over the years, I would say. A beautiful, beautiful Ric Flair, very similar to the defining moment, of course, we showed earlier. But this one was a Ringside Collectible exclusive. Mine's actually autographed, as you can see right here. But iconic Ric Flair, iconic robe, a lot of iconic nature to this one. Of course, on the back of this is one of those ones, as you can see, Jakks Class Superstar Series 1 being promoted on the back here. This is one of those ones, and we did do a video on it. Is it Jakks Class Superstars or is it not? Obviously, it doesn't have the Fame packaging going on, but it is promoting Jakks Classic Superstars on the back of the package. It is the Ric Flair Jakks Classic Superstars figure that we later got in red, just with a different color robe. So it's one of those ones that's a little bit of a tweener, and you can't really be wrong, you can't really be right. Just depends what aisle you sit on this one. But absolutely fabulous Ric Flair, a peek under the tent of what we were going to get in the Jakks Classic Superstars line, and one of those ones that I was like, oh boy, oh boy. And we did get Ric Flair in the regular Ruthless Aggression lines and stuff, but this was the start of really something special that carried on through the Classic Superstars years all the way to the very end. But just an absolutely iconic looking Ric Flair, a fabulous one, and at the time, the greatest Ric Flair figure of all time when this came out in 2005? 2004? 2004? Yeah, 2004. So this one's been around quite some time, and it's just a fabulous figure all these years later, and that's why it comes in at number 3 on my top 10 list. All right, we're getting to the very end. We're at the number 2 spot in our top 10 Ric Flair countdown at number 2. We talked a lot about it. Number 5, the retro Ric Flair, the flashback retro Flair. You guys know I love that. I talked about that in this very video. But instead of that as a kid, what did I have to play with? Well, I had something interesting. I had a WCW Galoob Ric Flair. Now, this is not the Hasbro, and spoiler alert, that Hasbro's not touching number 1. It's not even in the top 10 list for me. But I did have the Ric Flair WCW, and this was a time when young Kyle, I was young, and I'm going to tell you right now, this isn't the most playable Ric Flair, this isn't the best likeness, this isn't the most detailed with accessories, but when you're a little kid and you don't have anything to compare it to in 2022, you're a little kid in the early 90s, what do you have? This is the Ric Flair you have. And this Ric Flair, obviously, you couldn't move it around, didn't have movable parts, anything like that, but this thing was a game changer. This was my Ric Flair in my WCW line, but also with my Hasbros. I was a kid that didn't like to cross things over, but I said one day, you know what, I'm merging them together. That's what I'm doing, and Ric Flair went straight to the top with the world title win. Just a beautiful Ric Flair, and a lot of this in these top 10s aren't, like I said, all about the playability features and the likeness. It's about your fondness, your memories, what you truly believe to be your top 10. That's why I would say you put yours in the comments down below. But this Ric Flair, really special for a kid like me. And like I talked about the disappointment of the Hasbro, this guy had to do, he had to step in, and I still, after all these years later, have a very much a fondness for this. Very much a fondness. Yeah, that's proper English. Sure, why not? But really cool. It did come with the generic belt, which, hey, that was great for me. All these belts that we got with these guys back in the day, I made 6-man titles, U.S. tag team titles, tag team titles. I put those to use like a lot of good players did back in the day. But this Ric Flair, so many fond memories, so many hours of enjoyment, so many hours playing with this figure when I was a little kid. There was no doubt it was going to be on my top 10 list, and it came in at number 2. All right, we're to the end of the road. We're at the #1 spot of my third favorite wrestler of all time, the Nature Boy Ric Flair. So this was a fun one to go down memory lane, look at all of his figures and say, okay, I got to put these in orders. And it was very, very hard to put this list in order, as it should be, and that's a lot of the fun I find in doing these lists here. But now we're at the #1 spot, and before we get to that, make sure you like the video. Of course, it was easy to do. Just hit the old thumbs up. Make sure you give me your list in the comments down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the old notification bell. We're not just doing countdowns here. We're unboxing about everything under the sun. There's stuff for everybody on the channel. So your support means a lot. There you go. And then, of course, the Patreon, where you can get this video, many other videos much, much earlier, bonus contents, exclusive content, of course, monthly giveaways, a lot going on over at the Patreon. So make sure you check that out. Link in the description below. So now we are here. We're at the #1 spot, and really there was no doubt in my mind when I first put this list together, and it never changed. And this is actually a fairly recent Nature Boy Ric Flair figure. This one also comes from Mattel, so it's WWE Mattel Ultimate Edition Ric Flair. And you guys know I have to have a loose one. Gotta have them in on card, in on box one as well. Just absolutely fabulous. Everything I could want. I would love it if every other set they gave us a new Ric Flair with another robe, different face. Just keep popping these bad boys out. These deluxe Flairs are awesome. You got the 4 horseman fingers. You got the pointing one finger. The extra hands add so much attention to detail here. Of course, we do get all the extra articulation we get with the Ultimate Editions. And then all the different head sculpts. Some beautiful head sculpts with this Ric Flair. And then, of course, the robe, the beautiful packaging. Just a lot to like about this bad boy. I did give him an NWA title belt that I got with a Toy Biz Christian back in the day. Just very fitting. Had to give that one to him. But just an absolute iconic, fabulous Ric Flair. Pops off the shelf. As you guys know, this rated very highly on my top 10 list of the year's greatest figures, of course. Just everything I could want in a Ric Flair in action figure form is what we've got here from Mattel. Now, like I said, Mattel, I'm all in. Give me some more Ultimate Ric Flairs. I'll take as many. Give me one in black. Give me one in green. Give me some different head sculpts. I can mix the heads around. Man, I'm all in all day long, but just an absolute fabulous figure, and that's why he comes in at #1 on the top 10 Ric Flair list. And of course, like I said at the beginning, Ric Flair wrestling his final match, so we are to believe, but you know, he said it before, but I truly believe this will be his final match this weekend. And like I said, I will be watching. It's kind of closing the chapter on one of my all-time favorite, one of my childhood heroes, Nature Boy Ric Flair. Of course, Terry Funk closed that door as well, and Ultimate Warrior closed that door as well. And my probably 4th favorite wrestler of all time was Chris Benoit. I don't talk a ton about that, of course, because of everything that went down with that. So it's just really interesting. I don't know. Wrestling obviously has changed and will keep evolving. And you too, depending if you're younger than me, you'll be in this same boat one day where all your favorites are gone and retired, and that's all you got is the memories. But there's new favorites. There's new stuff. Maybe one day we'll talk about some of my new favorite modern day wrestlers that I can grab a hold of and live vicariously through or something like that. But this one's about Ric Flair. I hope everything goes well in his last match, and hopefully he rides off into the sunset in style. And of course, should plug the social media. You can hit me up at SirPaul64 on Twitter, Instagram, _Kyle_Peterson, and of course, ProWrestlingTees.com. Support the channel, hit up old Pro Wrestling Tees. So for the Nature Boy Ric Flair Top 10, I'm Kyle. See you guys all real soon.